late. I did get held up in a meeting before the show, so I couldn't really get here on time, but that's unfortunate. So let's go right ahead and get into this first segment, which is talking about the Jake Paul against Mike Tyson boxing match. Again, if you can really call it a boxing match. I mean, this took place at around 12 o'clock at night. They had so many people tuning into this highly anticipated matchup because, as we know, Mike Tyson, he retired a long time ago, and then he comes out of retirement so that way Jake Paul can beat him. And that's really what all of these boxing matches with Jake Paul have been. It's like Jake Paul has been beating up more or less incompetent opponents. And saying that Mike Tyson is incompetent is something that I was not expecting to say, but that's sort of what it showed in this boxing match right now. Essentially, they did nothing. Neither side did anything that was noteworthy in this fight. They were just going around back and forth, dancing, like practically dancing with each other, hopping back and forth. I mean, Tyson barely threw any punches in this match. Jake Paul was throwing all of the punches in this match, but nobody could really land a deliberate blow against one another. The first two rounds looked really, really good for Mike. Like, he was ducking, he was weaving, and a lot of people thought that he was going to win, and a lot of the betting odds pointed that he was going to end up winning this fight. But as the fight progressed, and as Mike Tyson took a really, really bad hit from Jake Paul, they sort of regressed, and they just started hopping around back and forth. It was a really big letdown, if that, for lack of a better term, because I mean it was so boring, and so many people, they stayed up late trying to watch this fight, and what we got was barely even a fight to begin with. It was just awful. Like, there are no words that can really, like, that I can use to describe just how awful it was. Like, you have to see the fight for yourself, and you have to see exactly what I'm talking about. But I mean, it was such a letdown. Like, it was terrible. I mean, I literally had to, since Mike Tyson, he retired when I was like 2 years old, I had to like call my dad, and I was like, Dad, how good was Mike Tyson? And I mean, everybody who watched him, everyone knows how good Mike Tyson was, because like this sort of inspired me to like watch some of the old matches of Mike Tyson when he was back in his prime. And I mean, he was a monster. There were several matches where he ended it in the first round, and everybody was like in awe with him. He was that guy. But in this match, when he's like super super old, and well, not really super super old, but again, he's like well past his prime. We should have seen the result. We should have known that Jake Paul was going to end up winning. But I mean, I guess all of those hype videos of Mike Tyson training got everybody super excited. And not only that, most of the time when you tune into these kinds of matches, you usually want Jake Paul to get knocked out and hit in the face. But most of the opponents that Jake Paul goes up against, as I said before, they tend to be rather incompetent, and they tend to not necessarily have all that much boxing experience. Tyson, he does have the experience, but again, the age is just what was holding him back. I mean, everyone knows that if Mike Tyson was in his prime, he would have ended this in like 10 seconds. It would not even have been a competition against these two fighters. And it's really, really sad. It was really sad to see that this was the way that he had to go out. I mean, it's like Michael Jordan playing on the Wizards. If I had to compare it to anything, and even then, Michael Jordan was still pretty competent while he was on the Wizards. He was far from the best, but he was still rather competent. And this is that same level of competence Mike Tyson was unable to reach, and it's just. He was that guy back in the day. I mean, there were several games named after him. I mean, I know Punch-Out, a very, very old NES game, that it was literally called Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And a little bit of a trivia, he somewhat is a character in the Street Fighter game. So let me go ahead and I'll explain that for just a little bit. So the boxer in Street Fighter in Japan goes by the name of Mike Bison when Street Fighter 2 came out. And obviously, you know, that sounds a lot like Mike Tyson, but America had to sort of change that name when the game was released over in America, because there was an alleged scandal going on around with Mike Tyson, and I don't want to get into that, but that was sort of a reason why that name had to be changed. But that character was sort of inspired by Mike Tyson, and it's like he really was that guy that everybody feared and that everybody was afraid of. And I mean, if you get hit by Mike Tyson, then chances are you are going to get knocked out and you are going to have so many concussions and you are probably going to have CTE. But in this fight, that didn't really happen. I mean, he had more times where he was biting his glove than when he was actually throwing punches. Like, I believe he bit his glove around like 40 times and he only punched like 19 times. And from what I've been told, apparently when Mike Tyson bites his glove, it means that he's nervous, and that just shows you just like, and when Mike Tyson is nervous, I mean, you know he doesn't have it left in the tank. It was just after the second round, it was really just like, making sure that he doesn't get knocked out and he can, still walk after the fight ends. And I don't think Jake Paul really wanted to hurt him that much either. And I mean, this was like, it was just bad. I mean, it was super boring. I can't even talk about the fight all that much because there's nothing to really talk about. There was no real highlight play. There was nothing that highlighted this fight that would make you want to watch it. Like, if I could get those hours back, I would love to get those hours back, because I just wasted so much time trying to not only stay up for the fight, but expecting a good fight. I shouldn't have expected a good fight, honestly. I mean, Mike Tyson is so old right now. I don't even know how old he is, but I know he is old. Let's actually go ahead and check how old he is. I mean, yeah, 58 years old, and that's the guy that Jake Paul wanted to fight, a 58-year-old man. It's really just like, no, you're beating up on uncle at this point, or worse, you're beating up on grandpa at this point. It was not fun to watch. It was boring. It was dull. Nobody threw punches. They were just going around back and forth dancing. And at some points in the fight, Mike Tyson even looked like he was about to fall or like lose balance. It was boring, and I did not like it at all. And it was definitely not worth staying up all that time just to wait for that. I mean, it was awful. But I mean, you guys can watch it. You guys can. All of it was on Netflix. It's probably still on Netflix. There's also some YouTube highlights on it as well, if there even were highlights to be drawn from this game. I don't recommend watching this fight at all. If you want to get bored and you really have nothing else to do in your life and you want to see something, then yes, you can watch that. But again, it's like, no, don't even bother. And that's all that I really have to say. The fight was super boring. So let's go to something that isn't boring, which is the NFL. That's going to be all of the segments going forward. We're going to talk about the Giants benching Daniel Jones, my favorite news throughout the entire day. So I'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind.